Chapter 7, Business Cycles. Chapter 7 takes a detailed look at the business cycle, or the cyclical patterns of boom and bust within the economy. And maybe more specifically, what causes the business cycle. Woodward explains that since 1854, the U.S. economy has experienced 34 business cycles, 12 of which have occurred since World War II. And while economists universally agree on this, they're not all in agreement as to why they've occurred. Woodward provides a list of theories from a wide range of economists and then humbly provides his own. Specifically, he sees fractional reserve banking as the main culprit. In a general sense, Woodward explains he's not the only one who is unimpressed with the inherent and insolvent nature of the fractional reserve banking system, and he provides a couple of light-hearted quotes to support. One by economist Frank Graham, who described it as being, quote, even more preposterous than eating one's cake and counting on it for future consumption, end quote. Another by Hugh Rockoff, who stated, quote, the straightforward way of eliminating the inherent instability caused by fractional reserve banking is to simply eliminate fractional reserve banking. Make it a law that all deposits or privately issued banknotes must be backed dollar for dollar by reserves, end quote. Yet the definitive case Woodward builds begins after he quotes Murray Rothbard. The context for Rothbard's quote is based on a systemic issue we see during the business cycles, and that is the inability for entrepreneurs across the board to correctly predict production demand. And really, how could they? As the money supply is artificially pumped into the economy, it creates this oscillating wave of inflation and deflation. We've discussed that before, and the economy becomes extremely difficult to predict. Rothbard describes this collective failure by entrepreneurs to predict production demand, a quote, cluster of errors, and noted that there were three common features that must be accounted for to validate any theory that seeks to explain the existence of a business cycle. Rothbard presents the three common features in the form of questions that really become the essence of the entire chapter. Woodward uses these questions to build his argument, demonstrating how each can be answered by pointing to fractional reserve banking as the root cause. I'll let you read the chapter as he breaks down each, but you should feel a bit of a crescendo as he builds to the end of the chapter. If there's ever been a mic drop moment in a chapter, you'll definitely sense it in the final handful of pages. Specifically, pay attention to the U.S. M2 growth year-on-year illustration. Woodward explains there's something very telling when we overlay the historical wave-like oscillations in the money supply over the historical wave-like oscillations in the economy. Ultimately, we discover that we have a direct match. In other words, when the rate of the money supply increasingly slows down, the waning money supply growth also slows down the growth of the entire economy. In the end, this chapter drives home the point that fractional reserve banking has done serious damage to the global economy because it just simply cannot provide the one thing a free market money system really needs, and that's stability. Woodward concludes that ending fractional reserve banking would put profits and power back in the hands of the people where it belongs. Would also cut down on the corruption and the control in the economy. And finally, it would put an end to the business cycle for good. It's time to begin reading Chapter 7.